It's not ideal to have this training online, but it's still better than nothing. And we are happy to welcome you in the term called the Terminology Coordination Unit of the European Parliament in Luxembourg. My name is Nadezhda, or Adi for short. And I suppose next to me with the same terminology coordination background, you can see Anna, who is a terminologist and a translator in the Polish translation unit of the European Parliament, and she is seconded to our unit for 6 months. So Anna and I will be the presenters today for this basic IATE training. We decided to give you a rather live demonstration than classical PowerPoint, as we thought, well, IATA is such a living organism, and it's much better to see it live than on a PowerPoint presentation. But if something happens, if we encounter any technical problems, we'll, well, have to go to the PowerPoint presentation where we have a lot of snips and arrows and click here, do this. So this is a PowerPoint presentation that you get after the presentation today, so you don't have to take many notes. I hope it will be of help to have this PowerPoint presentation. For training purposes and also for your own sake, we would like to record the presentation today. So if you have any objections, please raise the issue now. Otherwise, we will record it and we can send you also the video and we can share it with other colleagues afterwards. So our training will be around, well, let's hope 2 hours from 10 till 12. And I'm going to first start with, although I said no PowerPoint presentation, I am going to start with the PowerPoint presentation just to give you some background information, and later on we'll move to IATE. So, and well, of course it takes time. So I hope you can see it, and I'll just switch to PowerPoint slideshow. Get rid of this. Yes, okay, now we are set and good to go. Well, just a small introduction. Well, why are we doing this training on IATE? Of course, we have other tools, and I'm sure you're familiar with most of them, but IATE is the normative terminology tool. Of course, you can find a lot of terms on Quest, on Euramis, but most of these, apart from the normative memories, of course, most of these tools or meta searches, they show terms that, well, the way they have been translated and not the way they should be translated. On IATE, we have a lot of new features, and we would like to present some of them to this. And of course, we have a lot of new colleagues who are not familiar with the features at all. So why? Sorry about that. Why is it a basic training? Well, it's a mere introduction to IATE. IATE is huge. There's so many features there, but still, although it's basic, we will present some important tools for all translators, language professionals, and not only, I mean, assistants including. And why us? Well, the simple reason for this is that we got many requests to this training, and seeing the participants, the number of participants today, I would say it was necessary. And as I said already, we are the terminology coordination unit of the European Parliament, and I'm happy to welcome you for this first basic IATE training. This is the outline for today. So I'll give you some background information very quickly, the aim and content of IATE, just to have a general idea what we're talking about. And I'll present then different kinds of search. First the basic, then the expanded, how to search by collection, and rather new feature on IATE, the interpreter's view. And then Anna will take over with the term recognition module, which is a tool for creating a document-specific term bases. It is very useful also for assistants, because like this, they can prepare this term basis for the translators in the course of the preparation of a, let's say, studio project. And Anna will also draw your attention to the IATE guidelines and give you an overlook what the advanced IATE training would be, so you can decide if it's for you or not. Well, this is, I copied this from the brochure on IATE. I'll show you later on where it is. And it shows you the 10 IATE project partners and what exactly IATE is. So this is an abbreviation, and it stands for Interactive Terminology for Europe. And this is the European Union's terminology database. So you see the 10 IATE project partners. The newest institution that joined the project was the Court of Justice, and later on we also were joined by SKIC, the interpreters in the Commission. So this is how IATE used to look, the yellow one on the left side. It is much more modern nowadays. You can see the difference. And well, IATE has been in use since 2004, and it was created on the basis of merging of Eurodicatum. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it correctly. It was the database of the Commission, UTERPE, it was the Parliament, IAS, the Council. And 2007, the public IATE was created. Now there is no public and not public IATE. Now we have only one IATE, but we have different roles for the users. In 2018, the new release was deployed. So you see this is how it looks right now. And as I said, it's managed by 10 EU institutions. It is public and it is free. So it's not only used by us in the European institutions, it's used by the whole world, actually. Well, what is the aim of IATE? It is to support the multilingual drafting of EU text, in particular legal text, but not only. And more terms being created that end up in IATE that are not even legal, like terms from subtitling, audiovisual. So it's not only legal texts. And the specific function of the terminology database is to provide relevant, reliable, checked, easily accessible data, which represent a distinct added value by comparison with other lexical information. This is what I said in the beginning, comparing it with Euramis, with Quest, with other tools. This is the normative terminology tool. These are statistics on IATE. You can also easily find them on the webpage. I'll show in a second, but just for your information, this IATE contains more than 8 million terms and nearly 1 million entries. And we have an average of 1 million searches per week, which is quite impressive. It is multilingual and it has the terms in the 24 EU languages, but not only. There are also other languages, and I'm sure this is a path to be exploited in the future. Now I see a lot of terms with Chinese and Russian as well. We have 21 domains and hundreds of subdomains, and this was based on the Eurovoc domains. There is one extra domain, and this is called law, because we have the domain law, but apart from law, we have law Court of Justice, and it was created for the specific needs of the Court of Justice. And talking about the content, it is necessary to know that IATE is organized on the basis of concepts. So we have one concept, and that means one entry. We should not have, well, one concept and two different entries. Of course, in one entry, we can have synonyms, we can have abbreviation, and it will be still one concept because it will have the same definition. But we should not allow for duplicates in IATA. This is the general rule. And in IATA, you can find terms, proper names, all kinds of titles, abbreviation, formulas. This is about chemistry and different expressions. Right, so I've come to, so this is how the PowerPoint looks like with a lot of arrows. So I'm sure even if you haven't attended the training, you'll find your way around it. So I'll just push the escape button if it works. Yes, thank you. And we'll share. IATE, and now we can start. I hope you can see it. Yes, now I can see it. So this is the home page of IATE. Here is the IATE brochure, so you can open it. You can open it and see all this general information about the institutions, about what kinds of concepts there are, different views on IATE. About IATE, there is also here information about it, and here on down below you see the standard view, interpreter's view, search by collection, and download IATE. These are all brochures, so you can have them at hand when you need more information. As I said, this is the homepage. So in order to perform a search, we go to the first button, which is called search. Well, now you see that I am already logged on. You see my name. In order to perform the basic search, what I'm going to show you now, you don't have to be logged on. It's okay if you're not. But for most of the advanced features on IATE, you need to be logged on, and I can only recommend this. So here, rules of procedure, this is the last term I was looking for, and it always finds it. But I want to look for another one, and you see there is like a drop-down menu. When you start typing, you have numerous choices here. Right, so I'll go on the search button, and you can see that I have already I have the source language and the target languages. If I don't have a language here or here, it will not perform the search. So pay attention to this. Always have a language, well, a chosen language. And by default, I have all the 24 languages. Of course, you can uncheck them and take only German and Bulgarian, for instance. In order to have all of them, you check here. All right, so let's search. It takes some time. As we are on WebEx, usually it doesn't take such a long time. So while we are waiting, I can show you some, yes, well, it's there already. Cool. So here is the source language, the target language. We have to set them before we perform the search. Here you see the results. So we have 88 hits for a row of law, and from 1 to 10 are presented here on the first page. If you scroll down, you can choose how many terms, results per page. You can choose that here. But of course, if you choose more results per page, it will take longer. Right, so let's go to our first term, rule of law, and the principle of the rule of law. So what we see here, we see the results and the number. We see the IATE ID, this is it. So every concept and every entry has a IATE ID. So of course, instead of searching for rule of law, if I write down this number, it will be the same. It has the primary star. This star is very important because that means that it's an exceptionally good term, and especially if there are other terms, you should prefer this one. So always look for the star. If we scroll down a little bit, you see this anchor next to the French language. Well, that means that French, in our case, is the anchor language, and that this was the language, the anchor language in which the term was created, and all the other languages were added afterwards. So these are the languages here. You have the terms next to them. The next thing that you see are these stars. So these are different stars. They show the reliability of a term. So you see here 3 stars. Even, well, in Czech we have 4 stars. So 3 stars mean reliable term. 4 stars mean very reliable. So usually if a term is good enough, we put 3 stars. And if a terminologist thinks that it's an exceptionally good one, it's a very reliable, then he or she can put 4 stars. So everything with 3 or 4 stars should be good enough to use it. So let's move on to the right a little bit. You see all these icons here. So when you hover with your mouse, you see first the term reference, which is Article 2 of the consolidated version of the Treaty on European Union, the definition. There is a language level note. So actually you don't have to go into the entry at all. You just can hover here, term in context even. Additional information that is not provided here. And what you can also do is expand the menu. Well, this, I'll expand it. Let's take this one. This takes a while, even when we are not on WebEx. Be aware of this. And usually I find that it's easier to get into the entry to see all this information than expand it from here. It will come, I'm sure, and it will take longer because we're on WebEx, but usually it takes some time. So you have all this information that I was showing you right here. You have it all at one glance. The term reference, definition, definition reference, and actually everything that is already in the IATE entry. Something, yes, and of course you see who is the owner of the entry. So in our case, this is the council, but if we go down, we see in Bulgarian, it is the commission and the council, and so on and so forth. So this information here is just not only to be nice and to decorate the IATE entries. It is quite useful because especially with the rule of law, there was well, a big issue what exactly the rule of law is. And as it's not, it is rather a German-French concept than English. It was not very clear how to translate this in the other languages. So for instance, in Bulgarian, well, I'm sure most of you cannot read it, but it says, well, what would be in French, état de droit. So it's the same, but it's also a primacy of the law. And this is so because they are not exact synonyms, because the primacy of law is a principle of rule of law. So it's stricter in, well, this is the concept, rule of law, and primacy of law is a part of it, let's say. But it is a term that's used by the Council of Europe. And if we go to additional information and the term notes, we can read that these are not exact synonyms. So these notes are quite important. Right, so something very interesting as well is to pay attention. Well, usually you don't see anything here. So most of the terms do not have what we call evaluation. But if we scroll down, we see in motifs, we have preferred and admitted. So when we have an evaluation like this, we always have to pay attention to it, especially when it's in red. So I'll start with these ones and I'll show you a red one afterwards. So preferred, that would mean that it is just the best term to use in a EU text. And it can be so because it has been chosen to be the perfect term, or it is just to ensure the consistency of the EU text. So this is green, and if we see preferred, let's prefer this one. Admitted, it doesn't mean that it's not correct. It is correct, but there is another term that is preferred, that it's better than the admitted. So that's why it is dark gray. Right, so another evaluation would be deprecated, and I'll go to my bookmarks because I don't want to, and I show you the my saved bookmarks. So here we also see in Czech preferred, here in German we see preferred. Oh, we see in French here deprecated. So this is it, a red one. Okay, pay attention. It is asylum shopping in French. Well, obviously it is used probably by some newspapers, but deprecated means that it's well, widely used, as I said, but it's not to be used and it's not correct in the EU context. So when you see red one, please do not use it. And I hope if I scroll down, I'll see another evaluation. No, this is admitted. Well, there is here another evaluation that is also red, and it's called obsolete. Obsolete means that that it was a term that was used before, but it's not used anymore. So let's call it old term, and we should not use it. In English, it was bank identifier code. Now it's called business identifier code. So it is an old term, but back in the days when it was called bank identifier code, this was obviously the term, but it's not used anymore. And the last evaluation would be this one. It's an orange one. It is just to draw your attention that it's proposed. So it is already proposed, but it's not adopted. So just pay attention. It doesn't mean it's not a good term. On the contrary, it's a very good term when it's proposed, but just pay attention that it's not fully adopted yet. Okay, so this was about the evaluation. I'll go back to hopefully to my rule of law. And you see, when I come back, it always searches for the last term that I've searched for. And here on this blue one, you see the last queries. What I just showed you with the bookmarks. So of course you can go there and you can put all your terms that you need into the bookmarks. It's quite self-explanatory. Right, so rule of law. Let's get into the entry and have a look at this. And every entry looks the same. Not all of the fields are full, but it is always the same. So this is here on the top, you see the language independent level. This is this is the second box, which is the language level. And the third box is the term level. So let's have a look at all this. The language independent level is, as its name shows, it concerns all the languages. So here you can find the primary star again, the IATE ID, the domain of the term, very important. The cross-references, like for instance, you see in English, what I just mentioned was the case in Bulgarian, the current entry is broader than primacy of law. or is related to constitutional state. And you can click on all these links and see what is rule of law checklist, what is rule of law conditionality mechanism, rule of law backsliding, and so on and so forth. And you see also the owner. So this is all data that concerns all the languages. Of course, you can be content with this, but if you go on this small eye here, when you hover here, you see show more. So you click on this, and the whole information will be presented to you. So I'll just scroll down to let you see this one. These collections are, well, all of these collections contain these terms. So this is very important to know in which collections the term is included for many reasons, and I'll go to this in a few minutes. You see here also the confidentiality. So this is not confidential term, it's not raw, so I mean it's ready to be used, and you see that the owner is the council. So this is all about the language independent level. If you open this show more, it is quite big, but it's good to pay attention to this. Well, the second level, the language level, or some call it definition level, it consists of the languages, which you see here, and the definition. Well, the definition is different, or may I say it's not different, but it's in every language we have a definition. And it's good for many reasons. One is maybe we don't know the anchor language, but it also provides the possibility to change a little bit. It's the same concept, but we can change a little bit our definition because it's not exactly the same in our language. So here we can actually, talking about the languages, we can open up to 3 languages. So we can just click on the language we want to see, and let's have German as well. So I'll get rid of this so we can see it a bit better, move it up. Yes. So you can see all the terms in French, in English, and in German. The definitions, definition reference, a note to the definition. So definitions should be in general very concise and should be able to be put into a sentence. So this is quite extensive definition, should not be longer than this. And in the notes you can put all the information that it concerns the definition as well. So this is the language level or definition level. And when we move down, we see the term level. So this is the term itself with the term reference, Article 2 of the treaty, and the term type. So it can be a term, it can be abbreviation, it can be well, not expression. If it's a synonym and not an abbreviation, you see it down there as another term, like it is here in the English case. You see the term in context, and this is very nice because that means that you can see how this term lives the real life. So you can have this impression from the term. It's not only definition, but this is how it's used. So that's what the context is for. And if there is a context, there is also a context reference. And you see the owner of the IATE entry. This is nice that we have in English lookup form. So sometimes there is a misunderstanding what a lookup form is, and some colleagues think that it's the same as a deprecated term. It is not. The deprecated term should not be used. Well, I wouldn't go so far to say it is wrong, but let's say it's wrong in the European context. In the lookup form, it is just for adding other spelling alternatives. So, for instance, here you see a rule of law with dashes. So these are the lookup forms. All right. Now, this was the whole IATE card, the whole IATE entry with the 3 levels. Do you have any questions about this? Oh, I presume it is. And I'm sorry if you write something in the chat. I cannot see it because I've opened it quite broadly and I cannot see the chat. So bear this in mind. Just interrupt me if there are some questions. I can take them no matter when. It doesn't bother me at all. So this was the basic search that we just performed. But let's try another. You see the drop-down menu? Yes, there it is, rules of procedure. So rules of procedure, this is obviously, these are the rules of procedure of all the institutions and bodies of the European Union. And why is it important to know? Because, well, you see results, we have 148 results here. And believe it or not, it is not, in English, it is all rules of procedure, but in the other languages, it is not the same synonym if it's the same term when it concerns the European Parliament or, for instance, the Court of Justice. So we have to pay attention which institution this is. So this is the moment when I'm going to show you the expanded search. So this was basic so far, and here it says open expanded search. So you click on this button, and the first level of the expanded search opens because there is even another one with so many more filters. So what you see here are the default settings. What IATE search is for when you go on the basic search, it is usually for all words. So when I write rules of procedure, it will search for all words. We can, of course, click on any word, and I wouldn't recommend this because it will search for all terms that contain rules and all terms that contain procedure. So that wouldn't make our life easier and that wouldn't enable us to filter the term. On the contrary. So if you want to have only rules of procedure, we go for exact match. And that means that it will only search for rules of procedure and nothing else. So I'll try searching again. I hope it doesn't take too much time. I wouldn't dare to do this anymore because it takes too much time. But I'll just provide, yes. Well, you see, we have the results here and we have 19 instead of, what was it, 148. So going for exact, I'll open it again. Exact match, it will search only for rules of procedure and not even rules of procedure of the European Parliament. And this is the difference with the exact string. If you go for exact string, then it will look for all the rules of procedure with something after this string or something before this string. So it will also find rules of procedure and rules of procedure of the European Parliament. And I am not going to go for this, but I can tell you the numbers. So when we go for exact match, it will be 19. And if we go for exact string, it will be 107. So it's not a lot of filtering going on right there. So this here on the second level, searching term types, this is self-explanatory. You can search for all, but you can search only in terms, abbreviation, and so on and so forth. But this is interesting, the third level, searching fields. So for instance, if I don't want to search for the rules of procedure, but I want to search for all the terms that have as a reference, a term reference, rules of the procedure, I will go here. And I don't dare to go on the search because it is 2,280. So 2,280 terms on IATE have as term reference rules of procedure. And this is quite extensive, and we should be, well, we should be careful with all these searches because they are too expensive. And you can continue like this, playing with these filters. Of course, you can take all, but this would mean that you have to wait more, and this would be even more expensive search. So we take more resources from IATE, and it would, well, give us 2,614 hits. So this is not something we would need. Right. What is interesting here is well, the next level would be the filters in the domains, owner, and collections. So let's use this, the domains. And for instance, I want to search for the European Parliament. So these domains, as I mentioned before, are the Eurovoc, and you see here 14, Court of Justice. This is the additional one. So if I was not on WebEx right now, it would be also easier, but let's see. Oh, it was quite quick. So we see European Parliament EU institutions. In order to select the domain, we just click on it, and it's here. You see it. If you want to get rid of it, to delete it, remove it, you go to the front and you remove it from there. But now we want it to stay there and go on search again. And I hope it will just give us the hits of the rules of procedure of the European Parliament. And this is all right, because we have one result, and this is the rules of procedure of the European Parliament. When you use the expanded search, make sure that you go back and take it out before you go on with other search, because it will stay, the domain will stay, and then you search only this domain. So this is how to filter the search through domains. And let's go to collections. Of course, for collection, it's a bit trickier because you have to know which collection it would be. But let's just search for a Court of Justice. So if you expand the search of collections, you see all possible filters. So for institution, if you go to Court of Justice and search, they don't have many collections. So you see, now you see blue collections and orange collections. I'll get into more details about the collections when I inform you about the search by collection, but just remember for now that they are different, these collections, and the blue ones are related to project management, and the orange one are related to subject area. So they are usually broader. Right, so you see here, this is our collection, Règlement de procédure. Well, the Court of Justice always writes in French. We cannot do anything about it. So to filter by this collection, we have to edit here and then go for search. And we see we have 5 results, which is much better than 148. And we see, well, it is procedural law, Court of Justice, that's for sure our term. So, and let's use the other, and in order to remove this, you go on the minus. So it is a bit different. In the domains, it was in front of it. Remove, this one is remove from selection. It is behind with a red minus. And we can also, well, we still have the rules of procedure as a term. We can also filter by owner. So the default settings, when you open this for owner, your default settings would be this. All the data without the SCIC data, because, well, they were the last, the interpreters in the commission, that is, they were the last to join the IATE project, and there is a quite extensive cleaning work going on. That's why, for the time being, they are excluded. But of course, you can click on this, you can click on all, and have all of them, because of course their glossaries are magnificent, but the problem is there are a lot of duplicates in IATE, and it shouldn't be the case. If you want to filter by owner, you just have to click on all, and all of the owners would be deselected, and we just go for a smaller institution, or a body to be more precise. European Investment Bank. Let's go for this. And we have one result. So this is the rules of procedure, the European Investment Bank, EIB rules of procedure, so, and with 4 stars. Owner EIB. So this is how to filter by owner as well. Right. So here we have to correct this, because otherwise next time it will be only looking for EIB. So I go on O to save my settings. So this was all about basic and expanded search. Do you have any questions so far? If not, I'll move on to the next type of search, which is search by collection. Oh no.
Can I
Yes,
ask
yes,
a
please
question?
go.
Sorry. When we search, when I belong to the parliament and I'm translating for the parliament,
Yes.
and I shall have an owner that is European Parliament with some translation of rules of procedure. But we're talking in the text about, for example, the European Investment Bank. And
Yes.
in the European Investment Bank, the translation of one phrase or one term is different. Which one do I choose? The one concerning the European Investment Bank, or the one that the European Parliament uses? But it's a text about the European Investment Bank.
Well, then we should go with the European Investment Bank. If it's their text, then we should. If it's there, in our case, let's say it's rules of procedure, and you quote something from the rules of procedure at the investment bank, we should go with the investment bank, even if we have seen this term in one of the parliament's texts, it is obviously not correct then in this case. And this is exactly the difference between what you see in Quest or Euramis and what you see in IATE. I must be honest with you, it is not ideal in IATE. We still have a lot of duplicates. We have, especially in what we call the other languages, especially in French, there are still a lot of terms to be cleaned. But still, it's much, much better than Euramis, for instance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I was about to show you the search by collection, but let me show you first something else. So this was the expanded search, but I mentioned before, this is the first level of the expanded search. And if you go on show more under it, then more filters will be opened. So look at that, it's magnificent, it's quite new. And there are so many possibilities to filter your search. So for instance, you can only search for primary, for the best entries, not primary, exclude them, confidential, not confidential, how completed our terms, our entries are. So do they have a definition, don't it, or not? Collections, we can filter by some collections, what I just showed you before, but it's here again. Is it validated, not validated? And so reliability, if you want to search only in 3 and 4 stars, you just go like this and you search for all of them, and so on and so forth. So these are really cool filters, and I would recommend to have a look at them and play a little bit. It is definitely worth it. So now I move to search by collection. So as I said, these are, well, the collections are collections of terms in IATE, and all of the institutions are, well, paying more and more attention to these collections, and we don't want terms to be outside of collections for many reasons. First, because when a term is in a collection, we can perform a search and see more easily which languages are still missing and fill these languages. But also it is one of the main resources for creating term bases that can be attached to a studio project later on and can be used directly in studio when translators translate. So it is quite good to have a look at the collections. And let's say, for instance, and yes, I said you see dark gray, you see orange ones, and you see blue ones. So as I said, the orange ones are related to subject area. So for instance, let's go for climate, because I know there is one, well, at least one climate change collection. So this is related to the subject area climate change. And that's why it's orange. When you see this sign here with, I don't know, I thought at first it was kind of flower, but it's not. These are three little people here, and it means it's public, it's not confidential. So the collection itself can be seen from outside. The other two collections, the blue ones and the dark gray ones, they are mostly for management, project management. And the blue ones are for project management. And you can see it is one of our collections for the trainees project. It is EP. MAU means multiple languages, so it's at least 24. And the name of the collection. And you see here this sign, this is exactly the opposite of this. It is confidential, and the collection itself won't be, well, the external users won't see this collection. And the dark gray ones are just, well, they're called other. Obviously, we couldn't find a better name for them because it's all other things, all the, if you want to delete, if you want to clean up, if it's something that it's only of use to you and should not be public at all, and it's not like trainees project, for instance, it's not a project at all, then it's other and it's dark gray, and it is always confidential. So it's not visible for external users. So let's have a look at this public climate change collection of the European Commission. You can have a look and you see the languages right here. So I have still the 24 languages. So I click on the collection and it will appear the same way as it is in the basic search. All the terms will be well, presented the same way. So we have the star and all the languages would go down like this, as it is in the basic search. So a completely, well, not completely, but a rather new feature, it is the interpreter's view. What you see right now is the standard view. By default, it is like this. But interpreter's view, let's have a look at this. I find it amazing. So it is a table, and you can see all the languages. In my case, these are 24 languages. Obviously, when you're an interpreter, or just, you don't have to be an interpreter to use this view, it is kind of really nice to see all of the terms here. So you, of course, you can opt for less languages. Let's take English and, well, let's take French and Italian and apply. So you see English, French, German, Italian, and this is additional information. It is metadata. So in order to see the collections and the additional informations, these two columns, you have to go on show metadata, because if I hide the metadata, they'll disappear. So this is here, show metadata. And a very, very new feature is Well, this is sorted by default, you see it, but it was requested, as well as the interpreter's view, it was also requested to be able to sort alphabetically, which is of course magnificent when you need a term very quickly. So I'll sort it alphabetically, and you can also sort, well, you can sort English alphabetically, but you can go for French and German, Abfall. Well, you obviously this is the A is in front of whatever, and if you go on French, it will be, well, sorted alphabetically in the French language. So this is probably one of the newest features on IATE, and it's very useful, especially for the interpreters, but also, well, actually for everybody. Right. So let's go back to our search by collection, and I'll show you something else. Of course, if you know the name or the owner of the collection, you can write it right here. Let's say Court of Justice, and you get the collections here. But I personally find it even easier if you expand the search here. So open expanded search in the collections and go by institution. Because, for instance, in our example with the Court of Justice, it's not Court of Justice, but it is the French abbreviation that they use, and you have to know it. So it's so much easier to go to the institution and take it from here, Court of Justice of, well, this is the French abbreviation. As I said, it's not Court of Justice of the European Union, it's reversed. And institution, you go on search, and you see, these are all the collections. They are not many, but they are magnificent. And they have all 24 languages. So why would you need this? Well, first of all, you might need to have a look at all the terms in the rules of procedure of the Court of Justice. But if you remember, the rules of procedure of the Court of Justice was amended by the Parliament and the Council some years ago. And I remember, I was a translator back in the days, and I remember, well, translating from English into Bulgarian and having these texts on the website of the of the Court of Justice, and just, you know, finding all the differences, mistakes, and the terms, because back in the days, the whole terminology of the Court of Justice was not in IATE, it was on Curia still. So here, if we have to amend again the rules of procedure, it will be so easy just to click on this collection and have a look at it, or even better, well, now I have it again in 24 languages because these are my settings, but of course you can change this. So in this collection, Rules of Procedure of the Court of Justice, we have 455 terms. It is quite impressive, and we might say this is absolutely true. We can sort them alphabetically. Of course, you can go back to standard view if you want to see it, the languages, but the interpreter view shows you so much more. And how, let's say you want to have this in Excel, to have all the table with the languages you would look at, or even better, you would like to have this in Studio while you translate, or if you are an assistant, you want to prepare a really cool term base for your translator. So how do you do this? And this is a part actually of the advanced training, but as I'm showing this, it is just so logical to just continue and show you very quickly how it's done. So when you have this collection, you can just go to export and export it. But just one more thing, just to show you first how you can add more collections. So let's get rid of all these other languages. Let's take Slovenian this time. Right, so you go to expand it, let's say Court of Justice, search. Now we have the collections. So if we only want to export one collection, this is the easiest. The easiest is just to click on the collection, what I just did before, and go on export here. But maybe we want to export more collections. And this is the way you click add to selection. For instance, we want also to have the national jurisdiction for immunity procedure, why not? But we also want to have the rules of procedure. When you do this, you select them both, you go on apply, and now we have 745 terms in our preferred languages. So this is how to export them. You see, I hope you see this very small export with a diskette like years ago. Oh my God. So export, you click on the export, and this field will be open. So let's have a look at this. Name of request. Well, you have to provide the name of the request. There is no way around it. Court of Justice, it is just for you, you know, whatever you want. Rules of procedure. Let's take this one. Fields to export. The fields to export are different depending on the output format. So let's have a look first at the output format. So the first three, SDLTB, SDLTB Lite, and SDLTB Mini, they would be if you work on, well, if you work in studio, obviously, and you translate, or you're an assistant and you prepare term base for your translator. The SDLTB is quite heavy, and when we in the term court create term bases, we use the SDLTB Lite. SDLTB Mini is even well, less heavy than Lite, but it doesn't have the field reliability at all, and most of the translators would prefer to have it there. So if you have you have to use this to attach it to your studio project, do use Lite. TBX is used for translation by some external external translators in the European Parliament. Probably it is also the case in other institutions. And the last two are Excel, normal Excel, and Excel Lite. So let's have a look at this. Let's take SDLTB Lite. So it is. You saw that they all disappeared. So it is, these are by default the settings in the Lite. You don't have to do anything more. The only thing you can choose here is do not filter out confidential data depending on the project, or by default it is execute after core hours. Please do execute after core hours, because this is a quite expensive operation, and we don't want to bother IATE too much. Now, if we go to let's say SDLTB, let's take Excel. So this is the normal Excel, and these are the fields to export. So you decide what you need to have in your Excel table. Do you need need the domain? Do you need the collection? Do you need definition? If you don't, you just take it out. Do you need definition reference? Well, probably yes. Do you need the reliability? I would always put the reliability. Do you need the evaluation? Is it deprecated? Is it obsolete? Things like this. The term itself should be there in the term reference. And it is, you see here down, export only selected fields. Well, of course, you can decide to export all fields. And this is the default settings. So either you export all fields, and of course it's an Excel table, so you can move the fields that you don't, or delete them. But if you want to filter this is the way to do it. Okay, and you go not execute now, but execute after core hours. And this is also interesting filter here, export IATE ID as plain text. By default, it is as plain text. If you want to have it as a hyperlink, you click on it and it will be export IATE ID as a link, but still it's only if you need it, because this is you get this warning: exporting the IATE IDs as links will considerably increase the size of the resulting file and it will take more time. So, and you go on OK. And where you find it is in the management. So this is the third button here. Management, right? And you have the asynchronous requests. So you go there. Well, this is where you find all the term bases apart from the term recognition module. And there it is. So submitted, delayed. You can open, you can expand this and see what you have, what you actually wanted to see. Excel and all the fields to export. So now I am just going to go, and of course, if you export it in Excel Lite, it will be Excel Lite here. So I'll just go back to the PowerPoint presentation. I hope it's not stuck, and show you how it looks like in practice when you. So this is, I hope you can see it. Can you see it? Yes, okay, great. Because it's not very, well, it's not sure when we share sometimes two different types of data. All right, so you see the this is the export of the collections, and go away, results in Excel with the output format normal Excel. So this is what you see. You have the ID here, and you see from this field here, from this, it is the same number. And we have German, English, Spanish, French, Italian. So it is more or less the same what you see in the in the search. It's not a table like it is in interpreter's view. It's the standard view. And these are the results in Excel when you have the as output format XLS Lite. So this was also requested by the interpreters, and it mirrors what you see in the interpreter's view. So you only have, this is only the first the first term, and you have the terms here in Bulgarian, in Czech, in Danish, alphabetically. You see all of them, all of the terms that you need, and these are always hyperlinks. So if you export in XLS Lite, these are always hyperlinks because it is necessary for the interpreters to react or faster. But it's still a very nice, well, it's a very nice thing to see, and it is so well clear actually when you see it in a table like this, because you have the IATE ID more or less the same what you have in interpreter's view. So now this was, I'll show you just once more. So the search, basic search, expanded search, first level, show more, expand once more, and search by collection. Either you search by keywords, or you expand the search by collection and you apply different filters here. There are two more searches here, advanced search and batch search, but we'll get into this during the advanced training. So now I'm going to stop sharing and give the floor to Anna, who is going to explain to you the term recognition module, and it is quite an important feature of IATE. I'm going to give you the presenter rights, Anna, just in a second. Yes, make presenter. It is quite important because it is the basis of what we'll get eventually with the IATE plugin. It is the basis of the first IATE plugin, which is called the batch task. So all these filters that we have in the term recognition module, we'll have also in the IATE plugin.
Excuse me, a little technical problem here, but I start sharing again. I share my IATE. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Adi has just shown you how to export term base from a collection, and I will show you the term recognition module, which makes possible to retrieve a term base for specific documents. So this module is here under the tab with the arrow, the fifth arrow here, term processing and term recognition module. To the right, there is a description of it. So this feature enables you to compare terms in a source document with the terminology stored in IATE. There are 4 available output formats. The ones that interest us now are SDLTB and HTML. So SDLTB is a term base, and HTML allows you to see the content of such a term base. This is a file in which all the terms are highlighted. And here in the gray field under upload file, you see also the list of all the accepted source file formats. So I will now show you how to retrieve an SDLTB term base for a specific document. But before I retrieve it, please have a look also at the exclusion files below. They contain frequent words to be excluded from the retrieval. The one in the middle is always applied by default. It contains about 500 words. I will try to open it. Maybe it's not that slow. Can you see it? No, it's a little bit slow. Oh, yes. Can you see it? So
Yes.
it has words like the, of, and, to, in, for, etc., etc. And there are 500 words in this file. And then to the right, there is another proposed exclusion list with around 2,600 words. This is optional. If you would like to add it, you have to save it first on your drive and upload it from there. It cannot be dragged from here. Contrary to what might seem, it has to be first stored on the drive and then uploaded. And to the left, we have an empty template. You can save it to your drive and fill it in with your own exclusion list. It is absolutely simple. It is just one Excel column. So I will now retrieve my SDLTB term base. I have saved on my drive a recent document. This is an EP document, a PR, a projet de rapport on Indo-Pacific strategy in the area of trade and investment, and I'm uploading it now. And now I would also like to add the additional exclusion file. So I also saved it beforehand, and I'm adding it now. So this will be this one, proposed exclusion list, most duplicated EN terms. And as soon as I added the second file, the option appears here to mark it as the exclusion file. So now I have my source file, I have the exclusion file. And now please have a look at the panel to the right that opened after I uploaded my document. So we have request name here. This is just for your information, so it does not have to match the document number. So it is just so that you can identify it on your retrieval list. So I will call it like that. And then you have the option to filter out or not filter out confidential data. And we can choose again to execute it now or after core hours. So this is important also, as Adi said already. And here, well, here for short documents, they are usually retrieved quite fast, in a couple of minutes even. But for very long documents, if the waiting time is longer than 90 minutes, then the request is automatically cancelled so as not to create a queue. So if this happens, a solution is to reschedule it for after core hours, or to divide the document into shorter fragments. And shorter means less than 50 pages according to the recommendation from the IATE handbook. So for such a short document of a couple of pages, we can execute it now. And then the language is detected automatically. So we would need to use it only for multilingual documents because we can only have one source language. So if there is a mixed document, English and French, you would have to impose which terms should be retrieved, either English or French. But the target languages can be multiple. So if I use all, the term base will contain all the source target pairs. And when attached in Studio, Studio will automatically apply the one relevant for the project. So let's say I will choose Polish here. And then we have two analysis types. The default one is algorithm-based, so it is basically the same as algorithms used in the search. And the second one is a more experimental, sophisticated feature, which can provide improved results for highly inflected languages. So for English, we stay with algorithm-based. My source language is English in this PR document. And then here I have only one document, but I could upload more source files. And then I have a choice between one term base containing all documents and one term base for each document. Then output format, SDLTB, HTML, and also other formats. So I now go for SDLTB, the term base. Then it is not over yet. There are more filters. So this is also similar to the search fields. We can choose, we can specify only primary entries. That means entries identified as entries with a very high quality, or we can leave it not specified, both primary and non-primary entries. We can also narrow it down to confidential entries or exclude confidential entries. We could select a domain. So we can, for instance, in trade, we could open all the subfields again and again. We can also search here by writing, for instance, investment. It's a bit slow. If I do this, then I have all the domains containing the word investment to be possibly chosen. So this works like that. And then also we can search in collections. So you have seen collections already. Adi showed them to you. So also we could look for some interesting collections by a keyword. And we could also exclude specific collections that we do not want to use. And then we have again term type. These are default settings for term type in the source language, term type in the target language, and evaluation in the target language, and validation status in the target language, minimum reliability, and the aggregated completion score that tell us to what extent the entry is complete. And finally, these are the default settings for the owner. So you can also change these settings. Here excluded are the categories that are considered less useful, and also for the customer it's not very relevant. For us, this field is basically for the institutions that work for different customers, and so can have different terms for them, but this field is not very widely used, so we can leave the default settings. So to conclude, for the filters, different users have different approaches. Some prefer to narrow them down as much as possible so as not to be distracted by useless information, and others prefer to have as many results as possible and not to miss anything. So it is up to you to explore all the possibilities of those filters. I would, for instance, antique, deprecated, and obsolete in the target, maybe antique pre-IATE and not validated. I could add lookup form in the source language, why not? And then we could raise a little bit reliability, at least minimum reliability, but not everything, not specified. So let's see with this. So I have my settings chosen here, and then I go to create. Okay, and now, yes. So it is already queuing here in my requests, the one above. But so as not to wait, I already created it yesterday for the training. So the one that I have here is PR training. And when I click on it, it goes to my download folder, and from there I can use it. So I will show you in a moment also how to attach it in Studio. But before, please also have a look at the HTML file that I retrieved before. So this is the same result. This is the same setting, but with the output file type chosen as HTML. And here we have all the identified terms highlighted. And when I click on a highlighted term, in the right panel, I have a reference directly to IATE, and I can also click on the number and it sends me to IATE to the complete entry. And also one detail again from this retrieval screen, we can always look at our request parameters here under show more, show less icon. So one important thing is to know that this is a document specific term base, and this is only one possibility. As Adi showed you already, it is also possible to retrieve them from collections or also via the advanced search. So there are different paths to it and with a little bit different results. So to show how to attach it in Studio, I will now share.
Anna, may I cut you off for a second? Just just to add something to what you just said. So the term recognition module, as Anna just explained, it is exactly for document-specific term bases. So that means you have already your document, like it was in her case, the PR, and you want to have a term base exactly for this document and nothing else, or two specific documents. But the collections and the other term bases that you can download, they are for a specific subject, and they are not connected at all to any documents. So this is the big difference between the TRM, that creates a term base for only this specific document that we have here on paper, or whatever, Words, Excel, it doesn't matter. In the other cases, when we use the term bases search by collection or advanced search, then we create something much bigger on the basis of a collection, on the basis of some topic, but we don't have a certain document at all. We don't have to have a document. So that was it for me, side remark.
Thank you very much, Adi, for this. And so now I will quickly show you how to attach it in Studio. I will show this in a PowerPoint presentation. I'm sharing it now. Is it visible? I know it is not a slideshow, but I have a technical problem with switching to slideshow, and it's just a couple of slides. So for the moment, I will not deal with that, and I will sort it out for the next presentation. So attaching a term base in Studio, this is very simple. In Studio, from this ribbon, you go to Project Settings, then under Term Bases, you click on Term Bases and you have the option Use. When you click on Use, this drop-down list opens and you choose File-Based Multi-Term Term Base. Then it directs you to your drive from which you upload the SDLTB file. And there are some settings, search settings. You can also explore them. Normally, here only change is the default one. Minimum match value is 70, and maybe it's useful to raise it a little bit so as to avoid too many fuzzy matches. But it's up to you to decide what you prefer, obviously. And then it looks in Studio like this. So in the segment here, in the segment 129, the term EU strategy for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific is marked by a red line above. So this is the recognized term. And when you click on term recognition, here marked by yellow frame, the window opens, the term recognition window, and in this window you also have the terms from always from the given Studio segment. And from it you can insert them to the segment. You can also click on it and with some options to even go then to IATE. But there will be specific training offered about using term bases in Studio to see it in more detail. But attaching and using it is very simple. Just one unavoidable question is, so can we replace using IATE with using such a term base? And no, the answer is that would not be recommended because it does not replace IATE, in a sense that this retrieval is not 100% safe. There might be cases that some terms will be missed. Sometimes because it has been accidentally filtered out with your settings. For instance, you chose only reliable and there is some good term with minimum reliability, it will be not shown. Also, sometimes in a case of overlapping terms, sometimes a shorter term is retrieved, a longer term is not retrieved. It would require sometimes an analysis why it was not retrieved. So it's not like a 100% replacement for IATE, but it's a great help while translating because we have those terms proposed. Sometimes it can happen that something is shown that we would not have thought of searching in IATE. So it's a great help, but it does not replace using IATE altogether. And so that was this about our term bases. Adi, would you like to add anything perhaps? If not,
No,
yes.
thanks, Anna. No. I just wanted to say again that this TRM, the term recognition module, is the basis of the batch task, one of the IATE plugins that we probably some of the institutions that you work for, they've already got the IATE plugins. In the Parliament, it's not the case, and they are looking into the possibility to get the second type of the IATE plugin, the live provider, which would just go to IATE all the time without downloading a term base. But it is good to play a little bit with the filters that Anna just showed you, because these will be the same filters for the batch task when it's there.
Okay, so then I would like to draw your attention to the IATE guidelines, IATE handbooks. So there is one general IATE handbook and there are language-specific annexes. Can you see my it's under IATE under documentation here. Yes. And below we have IATE handbook and language-specific annexes. And so the IATE handbook contains all the information about IATE, from the general principles to the detailed information about every feature and some step-by-step instructions. It has nearly 200 pages. And so if you need any information, it is possible to look it up there. It is certainly there to be found. And it is also regularly revised by a dedicated task force to take into account the new releases, changes, etc. And very important are also the language-specific annexes. They are prepared by the terminologists from the specific language communities interinstitutionally. So for instance, in the advanced training on Thursday, we will demonstrate how to add terms in your language. And especially for that, it is important always to consult the language-specific annex containing those rules agreed interinstitutionally by the language community. These rules can concern, for instance, the definition, structure, referencing, formatting, which vary from language to language. And those annexes are obviously also periodically revised by responsible teams in the language communities. So do you have any questions? Well, if not, that would be all from me, and I can only invite you for the advanced training. Here is a quick overview of what will be offered. So this will be more directed to addressed to the terminologists. we will present new advanced features of IATE, and some of the topics include advanced search and all the very vast possibilities that it offers, batch search, adding terms to collections, using IATE marks, communicating via those IATE marks, and also adding an entry in your language and creating an entirely new entry from scratch. So if it's interested for you, then please come to the training, and there will be one on Thursday, and then will be another one on the advanced one on the 17th of May. So that is all from me. Thank you.
I see there is there are some comments in the chat that the presentation screen is too small.
I'm so sorry.
It was it was when Anna started presenting. Was it about the term recognition, Elisabetta? Was it about the term recognition module? Your comment.
Well, the presentation screen is small anyway, but that's not the problem because in the first part, I was able to follow via the IATE page on a different device. But when the term recognition started, I could not find it because in fact, to see that, you have to log on, and I had
Yes.
not logged on before. So it took me quite some time, and then I was lost. I was not able to follow. I hope I will be able to catch up in the presentation because in the first part, I was able to follow, you know, everything you were doing. I was doing it in myself on screen. But then in the second part, because I had not logged on, I could not follow.
Yes, it is true. This is what I am. That's why I started with this because you need to be logged on to see the most advanced settings. You won't see the advanced search either, or the TRM or the management button at
Say
all.
so at the beginning, but I did not do it because in fact I was able to follow the first part.
Yes. Okay, so we will know
I will send you the presentation, so I think it will be clear from there.
Yes, they are full of arrows and orange instructions, yellow instructions. So I think it is quite actually easy to use the TRM module. Anybody else? Do you have? Let's discuss a little bit what we've just seen or learned. I don't know, maybe you're wondering about this part of the collections, or why would I export this, or why would I need this? It is so the TRM module, the term recognition module, it is, like I said before, it is you have a specific document and you need a term base for this specific document only. Of course, you can also filter by collections there. But if you want to prepare something bigger, in my case, in my example, it was about the rules of procedure of the Court of Justice, or about the national jurisdictions, if you have an immunity procedure, something like this. But it's a more general term base that you can also attach to the studio project the same way as Anna showed. So it is quite valuable, this one. And of course, it cannot compare to the advanced search, because there you have all the filters. You can play with all of them at the same time. You can add them. So in the end, you get exactly what you want. Just a small spoiler for the advanced training. So any questions? Oh, I suppose that it's...
Yes.
I was
Yes,
wondering
please.
if for interpreter's view,
Yes.
is it possible to remove, for example, terms that are flagged as obsolete or deprecated?
Let me see. Okay, so I like questions like this. Thank you for this. So let's see together. Anna, you have to give me the presenter role again. Oh, or maybe you can show it because you have the.
I can give you the role. Yes.
Right. Here. All right. So there we are now. So let's have a whatever. Let's have a collection. Let's have a big one. I always go for the collections of the Court of Justice because they are so neat and they're so good and they are quite big as well. Okay, this one is not that big, but I'll take out all these languages because we cannot see what we are looking for. Let's say, let's take this. All right, apply. Yes, thank you. All right, so now we are opening a collection in the standard view. When it opens, I will switch to interpreter's view. So, so your question was, can we filter out this? Can we filter out the evaluation so we don't see the deprecated and the obsolete? Is this the question?
The question is if it's possible to avoid to have in the table obsolete, for example, terms and deprecated terms, not to see the evaluation.
Yes, but this is the evaluation. Obsolete terms, this is the evaluation.
Yeah, but for example, in French, tribunal cantonal, which is marked as obsolete, I would like to, for example, not to have all the terms that are marked as obsolete.
Yes, no, you cannot filter this out because it is evaluation and it concerns also the admitted, preferred, proposed, and well, all the others. So you cannot filter this out. But what you can do, for instance, if you have a specific document and in the term recognition module, let's upload a file again, what Anna was showing, it doesn't matter what, well, I'll just take something. Yes, and here in the term recognition module, this is where you can take in the evaluation of the target language. I hope you can see it. I'll enlarge it a little bit like this. So in the evaluation here, you can take it out. This is what can be done. Or when you search, for instance, you can take it out.
Okay, thank you. And also, is there also the date related to the depreciation or the obsolescence of a term? For example, this term has not been used since 2013.
It can be I don't guarantee for all of the terms, but if you enter into the IATE entry, it is usually information when it stopped being used.
Okay.
Yes, there should be a note or something.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
There's a question in the chat.
In the chat, yes.
Yes, can you read, please?
So a question in the chat is, do selected filters stay on even after a logout? Will they apply accidentally when I log in again?
For which one? For the TRM? I don't think so.
The question is from me. I don't know if you can hear me. It's just
Yes.
for the normal retrieval of terms, not specifically for the term recognition module.
For the no for the you mean for the basic search?
Yes.
Yes, they stay. Yes, they what you can see when you for instance, now you can see the last thing that I used, it was interpreter's view, and I opened search again, and it was in interpreter's view. So the standard view would be by default, but the last thing that I opened was interpreter's view. So it all stays here. And also in the basic search, in the basic search, this is what I mean. You always have to provide language. Okay, target language. Well, let's take all of them. So here, for instance,
Actually, I was referring to more specific filters, such as domain, collections, and owners.
Yes,
Do
exactly.
they stay on as well?
Yes, they stay, and that's why if you should not forget to remove them if you want to
Exactly.
do another search, because they will stay. If
Thank
you
you.
the question is if you log off.
Yes.
I don't think so. No, but in the preferences. So the preference, the easier way is to go on. You click on your name when you're logged on. And here you have your profile, and the second tab is the user preferences. So have a look at there, at all this. They have, for instance, well, display management options, results per page. So for instance, you can take hundreds, but of course it will take longer. So all these results in the search, you can they stay forever. So if you change something here, this will stay forever. But all the other settings that are not available here, when you log off, they'll be lost.
Okay. Thank you.
And it is the same for the TRM. When you use it, if you already use in your institution the batch task as a IATE plugin, it is the same when you download or export a term base through this batch task. But there is a possibility there to save your settings. So, but for every project, you have to upload them, because it's not possible to be saved forever. So it's more or less the same here. So have a look at the user preferences, everything that you can choose here. So for instance, you see in the target language, I have like all the languages. The source language is English for me. Results per page. Well, this could be also interesting. Display management options, especially when you are a terminologist, and all these things. Language validation. You can have a look at this. Everything that can be changed here, it stays forever.
I just have a quick experiment with logging out and in. So I searched something with exact match. I logged off without closing the browser, but I logged off, I logged on, and the exact match setting is there. So we should be careful, because it happened to me when I search. Sometimes I forget about it, and so I don't know about closing the browser, or it's case by case, but if you obtain strangely few results, then it is good to check how are the settings, because it happens to me several times that I was not getting the results. I was surprised, and I saw, oh, its exact match is still there. So it's important to pay attention to that.
And what is also interesting to see is, I didn't show this, but this is quite self-explanatory. This is the last queries that you did. So if you click here, you see all the things that you've searched for, the last ones. Well, it's, in my case, it's only rule of law and the rules of procedure, but and you can save them as well. This is quite a good trick to, yes, in the search, last queries here. And of course, the interpreter's view works also in when you're in the basic search. You don't have to be in the search by collection to activate the interpreter's view. It can be activated, well, wherever you are. Like, for instance, here in the rules of procedure, we had what, so 148. entries. Yes, thank you. Interpreter's view. And there they are. Okay, some other questions? I'll stop sharing so we can see each other. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Okay, well then, if Anna doesn't have anything more to say, we can finish the training 10 minutes earlier even, which is nice.
There is another question in the chat.
Yes.
Could you say a bit more about how you translated the rules of procedure for the Court of Justice?
Well, it's a funny thing, but I don't know about many languages, but in what terminology you used? Well, in Bulgarian and in Portuguese, I checked because there was a training for a Portuguese university, and it was obvious that the term was different than rules of procedure of the European Parliament or rules of procedure of the investment bank, for instance. And the reason behind this is, I suppose, and I'm sure about Bulgaria, that they use different terms in the sense of the Parliament rules of procedure and the courts. So this was the reason behind it, and it's just different. These are completely different, well, not completely different words, but still, I mean, it's, I can show you rules of procedure. So we have here, for instance, we have this in Bulgarian, this one. So this is Правилник за дейността, so it's rules of procedure for the parliament, and this one is for the Court of Justice. So even if you cannot read Cyrillic letters, you see that it's different, and this is because of the different names in these languages that differ between the parliament, how parliament is organized, and how the court or the Supreme Court is organized. Any other questions? Oh, I hope we have answered all the questions, and you are interested to see also the advanced search and, well, the advanced features on IATE, and probably see you on Thursday. If no, thank you very much. It was a pleasure for us too. Well then, all the best with all the searches and all the term bases, and just have fun with this, experiment a lot, because IATE is evolving all the time, and there are so many new features. So it's so interesting to follow this development. And if you see something that it's not you know, that bothers you, let us know, because the IATE developers, they are so great, and they take everything to heart, and they change it in a second. Oh, not in a second, but yes, did I see a raised hand? No. Okay. So thank you so much for the attention, and hopefully see you soon, see you live. And bye from
Thank you very much. It was very good.